Back to another edition of the Mandatory Live. Remember, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. Also, follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO. Also, if you got a couple of minutes and you're hearing this on the audio side, because you can find us on the audio side as well, make sure to give us a 5-star, leave a rate and review, because that helps the channel grow as well. We just saw Canelo and William Scull. That's how they were pronouncing it, not Scull. I guess you could pronounce that. I guess you could pronounce like that if you're in North America. I don't
That
know.
was a legitimate yawn from me, people.
Yes.
Legitimate yawn.
Which maybe people were doing during the fight, but Canelo Alvarez gets it done, winning by unanimous decision, once again becoming undisputed. And Brian, let's get on to, well, before I say let's get on to the fights and kind of discuss what happened, I want to say this is also an interactive show. So drop your comments. If you have any comments about the fight, drop them because we will get to them. Brian.
And you will carry us today, honestly.
Me?
The comments will carry us today.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I don't got nothing left, okay, after what I saw. So, Brian, let's start off with the main event. Did the main event, was it good enough for you?
The
today?
fight of the year. Yeah, it was
Oh, my.
amazing.
Tell me
Oh,
what
my
you thought about
goodness.
it.
Watching William Scull take Canelo to school and Canelo Alvarez being unable to track him down like he used to. This shit was a mess. Honestly, I was hoping just one judge would be like, yo, 114, 114.
Well, 115, 113 was one of the scorecards, actually. So
yeah, and another one
that
was
judge.
119, 109 because A side and Canelo. Listen, I have many issues with the broadcast. I don't want to complain as much as I did yesterday. I really don't. I want to let y'all do that, which is already happening in the comments. So I'm going to toss it to you guys right now. Jesus, because we knew you were going to have the first comment on a Canelo dud. Same garbage. DT says Canelo gave us the sweet science, aka the most boring fight ever.
I don't even think he was sweet sciencing it up. I don't think he was doing that tonight.
No. I'll give serious analysis in 2 seconds, I promise. Yeah. Not too literally, so don't hold me to that. Oh dear, hopefully Crawford throws punches on fake Nilo. Jalen Davis says unbelievable, shaking my head. DT says Turk and Bud was falling asleep. Shantelle?
What? Yes, I had my blanket out and I did turn on the heat. And I was like, yo, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the post-fight show. Brian hit me up like midway through. I think it was like the 4th round.
I said I stopped scoring the fight. I was like,
but he hit me up and he was like, yo, I think Scull might be winning some of these rounds. And I was like, oh, snap. I wasn't paying attention.
I had it like 3-3 after 6. And then I was just like, fuck this. Nothing's happening.
I did give a couple of rounds to William Scull. I would have to go back and rescore it. But I think
the cards don't matter.
The fight was just not very entertaining.
We have more.
Yeah, let's get to more comments.
Jalen Davis, Canelo knows somebody who won't run Benavidez. Jalen, and you've been with us for a minute. We've said before, like, we don't think Canelo wants that fight. And we increasingly find reasons as to why that's the case, which we'll talk about. Mm-hmm. Afro Soul, thank you for chiming in. Cubanos really should be banned from headlining big fights. I won't go that far. David Morrell is not this type of dude, but
Andy Cruz is, come on, Andy Cruz is going to be a problem.
Steven says I fell asleep after round 2. Were there any knockdowns?
Steven, we're with you. I'm with you, okay?
Unfortunately, I had a very small bet on a knockdown because Canelo Alvarez does tend to knock guys down, but he doesn't cut off the ring effectively against these type of dudes anymore. Let me see. Afro Soul says Scull did himself no favors. Yeah, by the way, we found out it's William Scull, not Scull, which I don't know if that's better or worse. Jay, how you doing? Jay says, what is going on? Boxers not fighting.
This weekend, boxers weren't fighting. What's up with that?
Okay, you know what? We're going to play my favorite sound from the weekend so far. I have a couple, actually, because Roly Romero, who is the MVP of the weekend so far, he had something else.
You're not gonna play him sparring. I mean, like hitting the bag again and making the noise, right?
No. He is a champion.
Thank you. I was gonna say
respect Roly Romero on this show that he's been on before. Marlon,
he actually has, you guys.
No, that's actually true. Where he said he would move up to 168 if I Canelo Alvarez.
He's like, I'll fight Canelo.
He is
He
a
did say
character.
that.
Somebody. I'm not gonna repeat who it was, but somebody on my timeline called him light skinned Bill Bellamy, which is I think a joke for some people, not all. Marlon 2631,
Who called him a light skinned Bellamy?
someone I know, but
Oh,
like
okay. Roly?
I'm pretend. No, yeah, called Roly that. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't see it.
I don't.
I
I'm.
don't see it.
This is one that I'm not. I can't speak on.
Okay.
You know, Marlon 2631. School threw 140 more punches, and I landed one more punch. We'll get to the punch stats. Also, Ray Swisher. School was throwing with no intention.
Yeah.
At least he was throwing.
No, but he was throwing with no intent. That's actually true. That's what he did the whole entire fight. He threw with no. That might be the best comment. Leave it up there for a little minute.
We should just put comments the entire show.
Yeah.
Let's see. In the face-off, Bud looks bigger. He's not playing, y'all. I think Bud's gonna win this fight. I switched my pick. I had Canelo like early. Like this was like a year ago, whatever, when this was first like rumored. I was like, man, he might be too big. Now I'm like, no, Canelo's not.
We'll get into that a little bit later on the show.
All right, so let's play this sound. Let's see if I can track this down appropriately, because we play sound on this show now. I don't know if you guys know, but we have Tim Bradley. Yes, that is Tim Bradley. I know he's not everyone's favorite. This is courtesy of Fight Hype. And here Fight Hub. Whoops. That's a egregious error. That's their competition, but it doesn't matter to us nowadays, does it? Anyway, so Timothy Bradley did an interview with Fight Hub, and this is what he had to say about this weekend of boxing. Hold on. When you lie on the resume. All right. Listen to this, guys, from Fight Hub TV. Timothy Bradley.
Fighters on there, they don't have the passion, bro. They don't have the desire, bro, at all. Everybody is spoiled nowadays. These fighters are all spoiled. And it's all to y'all man that y'all love. All to y'all owe it to y'all man that y'all love. All those guys out there, all the people that love this man.
This part's funny.
That
y'all
man
to
being
them.
Turkey Al-Sheikh?
I ain't say nothing.
Okay.
I ain't say no names, but but I'm just saying, spoiling these guys, man. These guys are making way too much money, and I get it. They all say, "Oh, wait, money, bro." To get that, those type of performances, bro. Come on, bro. No passion, no drive, no hunger. Fighters are whack.
Yo, well, there's like one more minute of this, but this is basically what he's getting at. He said this after last night, which we did the live show. If you missed it, we torched that. And this was the undercard was better, but I mean the main event was just terrible. Let's actually let him continue a little bit, and then we'll talk about this.
Straight up whack, all of them. Straight trash, whack. I was horrible to watch yesterday, man. I was so angry, man, and you can still see I'm still angry about it. Because I'm like, oh, that wasn't no boxing event. That wasn't a boxing event last night, man. That was quote unquote entertainment. That was the only thing that was attached to that. Entertainment. But no boxing event. That wasn't no real boxing event. Who the fuck shows up in a car, bro? Who?
And that's what I want to
Who does that, bro?
The whole event was just bizarre. It seemed like
it was
from the no fans being there, no
all the
recognized
above.
media
exactly,
being there,
bro. Because
everybody
it was a flex.
shut out.
It was a flex, bro. That was a flex in New York's face, bro. That was a straight up flex, man. That's what that was. Straight flex.
Said the same thing.
Look what we can do.
Yep.
It wasn't about the fighters.
Yep.
The fighters were pawns. That's all it was about. The fighters were pawns, bro. The real agenda, you don't know the real agenda. But at the end of the day, I'll just say this, man. I never want to see something like that ever again.
Well, unfortunately.
Today wasn't any better, yo. Like, today was not any better. I mean, I do think that you could say that Jaime Munguia and Surace was quite entertaining. Jaime Munguia should have been able to knock him out, but Surace is tough.
Surace,
he's tough, yo. And he landed.
I thought he won 4 rounds, maybe.
Yeah. No, like, Jaime lost some rounds in that fight, but it was actually an entertaining fight. I was watching it, and Game 7 was on, and Game 7 was terrible. So I was more into that fight than watching Game 7. So let's actually get into the fight, Brian, and then we're going to get back to the comments, you guys.
Yes.
And by the way, thank you for everyone that's rocking with us. If you haven't already, hit that like button because that's going to help the channel grow. Brian, we saw Canelo go all 12 rounds. with William Scull. And let's talk about what we saw, because as you mentioned it, he ended up landing more on Canelo, not body punches, but he threw more and landed more, did he not?
Make this bigger for you guys. Pause also. Jesus, that was egregious. We have, look at this, guys. Round 1, Alvarez 0 for 4, William Scull 1 for 20. So you mean to tell me in the first round there was one landed punch from the guy that everyone's shitting, like the zone broadcast was completely disrespectful to William Scull. Okay, I understand he was moving around a lot, but Canelo Alvarez is not blameless for this being a dud of a fight. Canelo Alvarez was not, and I don't know what it is. What is it with dudes lately just not cutting off the ring like they used to, or whatever the case may be? Like just kind
Well,
of following
Canelo's
him
usually good at
around.
that. Canelo's usually good
He's
at that, but
elite
he
at
hasn't
that.
been. He hasn't been against that type of fighter,
Yeah.
right? And we saw that tonight. Go on, Brian.
Yeah, like and that's really what it comes down to. Like, look at, there's not a single round except for Canelo in round 12 where anyone lands a double-digit amount of punches. So we were seeing historical lows last time out, which is yesterday. Right here, look at the very bottom. You can see this. My name is covering it a little bit, but you can see this. So the punch stats on the bottom here. William Scull throws 293 punches. He throws 141 more punches than Canelo Alvarez does in the whole fight. Canelo Alvarez is at 152. That's 12.6 punches per round. That's 4 punches per minute. That's what Canelo Alvarez is doing. This is the third time we're doing this weekend, where we're talking about somebody throwing 9, 10, 12 punches per round. William Scull threw a ton of punches by comparison, but he didn't throw a lot, like just in general, right? And landed punches, Alvarez 56 and Scull 55. Scull was way more inaccurate. He was very inaccurate, which is ultimately why he lost the fight. That's not true. He lost the fight because he's fighting Canelo Alvarez, and by all means, this fight with him and Crawford needs to happen. You know what I mean? And to be fair, Canelo Alvarez did land more, as you see here, power punches 48 out of 89, 54% when he did throw them. But look at this, like 0 for 4, 5 for 13, 3 for 9, 4 for 10, 3 for 10. This is Canelo Alvarez here. And then like toward the end, you'll see a little bit more activity, but you're still not seeing a ton. And Scull just wildly inaccurate. 4 for 28, 3 for 32, 5 for 33, 5 for 24, 5 for 20. This is like, I don't know, name the worst three-point shooter in the NBA. Like, this is what this is in terms of percentages.
Well, let's give a little bit of context to Canelo's numbers, because let's also keep in mind Scull was trying to stick and move. He was moving around a lot,
More
and
move than
Canelo
stick.
was trying to cut off the ring, and he just couldn't do it. Scull kept on using his footwork, and Canelo couldn't cut off the ring. So that's why the numbers look like that. When that happens, styles make fights. And this just wasn't an entertaining bout. But listen, we knew that when it was announced.
Right.
Like, let's be serious here. And
Right.
this is the thing that kind of pisses me off, is that,
right.
And I don't want to get on the commentary again, because I do work in media, but I just want
We
to say
both do. Yeah.
sometimes you just got to turn it off and mute it, because it's sometimes it's one-sided. The one thing that I hate is bias commentary. I hate it. It's kind of like if you listen to like a home broadcast and you could tell they're homers, right? It's something like that, and you can kind of tell. And sometimes that's great if you're a fan of like a one specific team, but sometimes you don't want that, right? Yeah. Here's what I have to say about it. When we heard about this fight, we weren't excited. So now, months later, when we get it, it turns out to be an absolute dud. And it all comes down to a few things. And I want to start off by saying it is Cinco de Mayo weekend. This is one of the biggest weekends. You know it. If you're not even Mexican, you want to go out this weekend. It's Cinco de Mayo weekend, okay? You want to be in Vegas. I can't tell you how many times I went to Vegas during Cinco de Mayo weekend, because it's fight weekend in Vegas. It's popping. Yep. And the crowd is hype. Like, it's been Canelo weekend for quite some time now. It used to be Mayweather weekend. We all know that. And it's the best weekend to be in Vegas. Cinco de Mayo weekend. You're going to get a good fight. Now, not only was it not in Vegas, the crowd was brutal.
And the arena was small.
I don't care if you had Fatal Fury last night in New York. This fight should have never been in Saudi. A mistake. And to be honest, I saw a comment, and it might have been from you, Jesus, if it wasn't my bad, if it was someone else. Somebody wrote and commented when we were doing our fight preview for Canelo and William Scull that Canelo sold out his Mexican fans, and he did.
Jake Paul said the same thing.
He did.
We played the video multiple
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
No, he did.
Yeah.
Right? Like who's enjoying this? I don't know who's enjoying this unless you're like a diehard Canelo fan. This fight was for him to make bread. And listen, Canelo doesn't even need Turk. That's the whole point. He doesn't need Turk to make money. So he went over there, he got the bag, and I hate to say it, but he sold out, dude. Like that's it is what it is. And I hate saying that, and Jesus is gonna hate me, but Canelo is one of my favorite fighters still. I always thought he was really entertaining. Now he's on the latter end of his career, and thank God we're getting him and Bud Crawford. Thank God, because maybe it'll erase what we just saw tonight on Cinco de Mayo weekend. You guys,
Yeah.
like, come on. This is probably the most disappointing Cinco de Mayo weekend I can ever remember in boxing as a fan. I don't think there's been one that's worse. And if there has, you can drop it in the comments. This is the worst. And you know who's all to blame? Turk. Okay? Turk is to blame. He has officially ruined Cinco de Mayo weekend. He's ruined it.
I think also the venue reportedly only holds like 6,000 to 8,000 people that they fought at today. It was like very early in the morning out there, which is also
7 a.m. apparently. 7 a.m. like when the fight finished.
Why even do it? Why even have the fight out there then? Like just do it here or do it like at a regular time. Like it doesn't make any sense. It was the worst atmosphere for a Canelo Alvarez fight that I've ever seen, that I recall seeing.
And I think Canelo should be upset about that too.
Yeah, like this is a dude we've been seeing on HBO, on Showtime, on TV since 2009, 2010, something along those lines. Like since very early on in his career. MGM Grand, Jose Miguel Cotto, 2010. That was his one of his first fight. That was one of his first fights. Before he obviously fought Miguel Cotto later on, but that was one of his first fights in the States. And this was obviously, like, coincidentally, Cinco de Mayo weekend. Floyd Mayweather, Shane Mosley card, and Canelo Alvarez was very young, very, very young in his career. I think he might have been 20, maybe. Like, I think he was still 19, and he's already 31-0 at the time, and he's already like up and coming, gonna be that dude. Floyd Mayweather fights Shane Mosley in the main event, and it's like, oh, who's this Canelo Alvarez dude? And then he made the transition to fighting in America as opposed to fighting in Mexico. But he still had fights in Mexico here and there for a little bit before eventually, not fighting there for a long time, making his return against John Ryder. Anyway, it's the worst atmosphere for a Canelo fight, and like he just in the fight looked older, looked slower. And this is a point that I've been making. Like the broadcast is blaming this on William Scull, saying he's coming to survive and this, that, and third. And it's like, true, but Canelo Alvarez is not throwing punches. Canelo Alvarez is not cutting off the ring effectively. Canelo Alvarez is not doing what he typically does against guys who move around. Even against Jermell Charlo, who was moving around a lot in that fight, for people who may have forgotten or whatever. Canelo Alvarez dropped him. He didn't finish him, but he at least dropped him, made it interesting, or whatever the case may be. And like all these things are going on, and it's like, yo, Canelo Alvarez is just older now. His 20th year. He's close to 35. He'll be 35 the next time we see him in a ring. And on top of that, he hasn't gotten a knockout in 4 years. And I bring this up all the time when we talk about this. Manny Pacquiao got one knockout in his last 17 fights. After he knocked out Miguel Cotto in 2009, he got one knockout for the rest of his career. And apparently he wants to come back against Mario Barrios. And if that fight happens, I don't think he's going to knock out Mario Barrios either. So like Canelo Alvarez is just at this stage where I don't think he's going to knock out Terrence Crawford. I don't give a shit about the size difference. Terrence Crawford apparently is walking around at like 187. And while I don't think Terrence Crawford like is naturally, like we never seen him as super middleweight, but I feel much better about his chances now, having seen what Canelo's been. He's clearly been slowing down, because we've said this too. A younger Canelo Alvarez, I think, stops Edgar Berlanga, all due respect. Stops Jaime Munguia, all due respect. Like, since Caleb Plant since Caleb Plant, like that's the last. Caleb Plant is the last truly apex Canelo Alvarez performance, because after that he lost to Dimitri Bivol and just hasn't been the same since. Even against Gennady Golovkin, where people were like, "Oh, this is sad" or whatever. Go back and watch that fight where Triple G, like toward the end, was actually putting it on Canelo for some rounds, and the scorecards were actually pretty close. And then obviously John Ryder in a small ass ring in Mexico, it was like, oh, like he should be able to stop John Ryder, even though John Ryder's super tough, and he didn't do that. And John Ryder actually looked good at the end, like winning a couple rounds toward the end of that fight. Jermell Charlo, we just talked about, and then Munguia Berlanga. Like Canelo Alvarez is still like very, very good, but he's not in his prime anymore. It just is what it is.
Well, let's give some context to the John Ryder fight, because Canelo did take a little bit of a break and he got surgery on his hand. So I don't think he was even 100% when he took that John Ryder fight. You're also coming back after having surgery on your hand and having your first fight, so it might not be the same. However, he hasn't been able to get the stoppage or have that knockout like we've seen. The last time he had a great performance was that Caleb Plant fight, but he has been able to rack up wins. I think my issue with the whole Canelo thing is that if you're at the latter end of your career and you know it, and I think that's also why they're having this Bud Crawford fight, because he can sail off into the sunset after this fight, except for I believe he has like a 4-fight
more
deal.
Fights, yeah.
Yes. So we don't know who we're going to get in those 2 fights, Christian Mbili. I don't know what he's going to do, but there's one fight that we want, him and David Benavidez. And that was the fight that we wanted for an extremely long time. And
I don't want that fight
seemed
anymore.
like, well, here's the thing. That's what we wanted though, right? And I don't think we're going to get it. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen just because it hasn't happened already. And the longer Canelo waits, it's worse for him. That's the thing. So what I think what will actually happen is, because there is probably a rematch clause for Bud and Canelo. I would think there is.
There better be.
And if it's going to make money, why not do it twice? Why not have, Bud Crawford and Canelo too, and possibly a trilogy fight, depending on how it goes. Like, we don't know how this could all go down.
And then they can both retire.
Exactly, because Bud is sneakily getting older as well. But when I take a look at Canelo's performance against a guy that was moving around a lot, wasn't throwing with, I don't know, like Scull did what he did, right? Like, he wasn't throwing with any intention. Let's be serious. He was just throwing some wild shots, and it wasn't very entertaining. But the one thing that I kind of noticed in this fight was Canelo's speed. Like, has his speed fell off a little bit? We saw young Canelo. We know he used to have that speed, but against a guy like Terrence Crawford, which is what we're going to talk about next, Brian, does the fight make a little bit more sense now, even though it's at 168 pounds? Because what we've seen from Canelo in this fight doesn't really get me very excited about him against Bud, who feels like he's still youthful, feels like he still has the power. Bud has nothing to lose going into this fight. I mean, most people are taking Canelo.
Oh, that might change.
I think so. But I really do feel like now, after we've seen this performance, do you think that people might kind of think, hey, I want to take Bud Crawford in this fight? Or do you think that, Bud has more of a chance after what we've seen, even though he's jumping up 2 weight classes for this?
Yeah, but Canelo Alvarez, again, he's older. He's not exactly a big 168 pounder. You know what I mean? And Canelo Alvarez is not today as skillful as Terrence Crawford has been. Now, caveat, Terrence Crawford didn't look awesome at his debut at 154. You had people saying, I think wrongly, that he should have lost his last fight. I thought it was closer than a lot of other Terrence Crawford fights. But I still think he won that fight. Maybe comfortably is a little bit of a stretch, but I guess, if I have it 8 rounds to 4, I would say that that's kind of comfortable. Like, he clearly won that fight is what I would say. But Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, it sucks because we're getting this fight, but this has happened before in boxing, where you're getting a super fight between 2 dudes who it's like, are they really at their best anymore? Canelo Alvarez, I think we could definitively say he's not. And that's
I think
okay.
Bud is still at his best, dude.
He's closer to it.
Yeah.
Because he's one. The problem with Bud is you don't really know until you see him because he fights once a year and he hasn't fought more than once a year since 2019, which is a long ass time. And while he had the Errol Spence performance, Errol Spence, and I'm not like, no, Terrence Crawford is that dude. He's an all-time great. But Errol Spence was coming off a long layoff, and there were questions about whether or not he's the same after the accident and whatever and what have you. So I think
and was the eye surgery after too?
Yeah, I think so. Like,
was the orbital too before the Bud fight? I can't remember, but he had like 2 serious issues, like the accident, and I think the orbital thing, right? I can't remember.
He's had a lot of shit, like, just period. And I think ultimately, like, we're not going to get this fight with Bud and Canelo at their very best. It feels like, especially because, like, I don't know, do y'all think Terrence Crawford's best is to come at 168? Because I'm not sure about that. But regardless, like, we're going to get the fight. It's going to be a super fight. Hopefully it'll be more entertaining than what we've seen this weekend. This weekend's been awful. I think that should be like what we also like talk about. Because Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez are also going to fight this in September. So it's going to be a while from now. And apparently it's going to be at Cowboy Stadium. So it's going to be in Dallas. Or is it going to be?
No, it's in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium.
I keep doing that shit. It's going to be in Vegas. My bad. It's going to be in Vegas.
At Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders play.
Yeah. Home of Geno Smith. And on top of that.
Oh my God, terrible. Anybody want to get on me with that? We're just home of the most mediocre quarterback in the NFL. Go ahead.
Yeah, wait till y'all make the playoffs this year. And
just make it in, right? Okay.
This is where we're kind of at. And this has not been a good weekend. Actually, it's been a terrible weekend. It's been one of the worst weekends in boxing relative to expectations, but we have one man that could save us, and he's fighting tomorrow. God damn it!
Look at him there. Yeah, I think in a way could give us a very good performance tomorrow.
Top rank knows. They're like, save the best for last, and they tweeted this out when 12:19 a.m. Eastern. This is 40 minutes
Emiliano Vargas is fighting on this card.
Rohan Polanco. Rafael Espinoza.
Like, this card is dope, dude. Yes. Like, some of my favorite fighters are on this card, and I'm so upset. Actually, is it at Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern?
On ESPN.
Yo, I think
not
I might
plus. Not plus. This is just ESPN.
Am I able to make it home by that time? Sheesh.
What are you saying?
I don't know.
What are you saying?
I have to go to Trader Joe's. I don't think so. I think I'll make it for some of the fights, but I think I'll be home at like. I have to go get my groceries after I come back from work. Okay.
Afro Soul says, I think not unfair. It's a guaranteed win for Inoue. That doesn't excite me. Yes, but don't you want to see him get a stoppage? And to be fair, Ramon Cardenas is a tough dude. The last fight, we're not going to preview this fight now, but last fight Cardenas had, he got dropped, came back and won. He's never been stopped. He's only been dropped once, and he has 1 loss on his record. And he's on was it a 12 or 14 fight winning streak? He's on a big winning streak. So, I mean, this is necessary. Like, it's just one of those fights that Inoue has to take. And everyone wants to see his next opponent, and that's been announced apparently for September. Akhmadaliev is going to happen.
We're finally going to get it. So, we're finally going to get that fight, which is absolutely amazing.
But I would tell you, Rohan Polanco, Emiliano Vargas, Rafael Espinoza, all 4 of these dudes, I don't know what this would pay out in a parlay, and I'm actually going to look into this because I'm intrigued by it. All 4 of these dudes could win by knockout and probably should. So I hope the odds for that will be interesting.
I'm taking Rafael Espinoza by TKO or KO. Everyone kind of knows Rohan Polanco is probably one of my favorite up-and-coming fighters.
Yeah.
This is a very, very good card, and Emiliano Vargas will probably get the knockout as well. So could you imagine if we see that many knockouts? But what I will say is, we'll quickly go to this comment because I have to. So Jesus says, Shantelle, Raider fans are excited of Geno. I'm a Raider fan. I'm not excited of Geno. And I also know other Raider fans that are not excited for Geno. And Seahawks fans were tired of him. Up here, it's kind of like Seahawks County. And some people are happy Geno's gone, but some people are kind of upset. But they got Jalen Milroe. So, I think
because he's going to be fucking better than Geno Smith.
No, but he's a young quarterback. Look, listen, that I think Seattle will,
top 10 to 12
try to develop that he will. He's not top 10 to top 12. Like he's
He
just
is.
not.
I'm telling you
I
he
don't think
is.
he is.
I'm telling you he is.
I don't think he is.
It's fine. It's
Brian
fine.
has a hard on for Geno Smith,
We'll
and
revisit this after the season.
we
but I'm
fought so
telling you.
much about this when it happened that I blocked him for like a day and totally forgot that I blocked him. And I was like, oh, I thought we had to like record a show, and then I was like, yo, I totally forgot I blocked him. I don't think Geno Smith is a top 10 or top
You're a
12
psychotic Raiders
quarterback.
fan. That's why.
No,
You're
no,
gonna be good.
he's mediocre. He's
Look.
mediocre at best. But they did put a lot of good pieces around him
Playoffs
for him to succeed. I don't want to go to the playoffs and then get knocked out in the first round.
You've barely been to the. We're not gonna do this. All right.
No, but the last time we went, I was there. So that's what matters to me.
Any other comment? Thank you, Ryan. God.
Okay, I gave a list though. I'll go back.
We're not. No. We can't do this right now. We can't.
That's true.
We cannot do this right now because we're gonna be here for an hour. We're not trying to be here for an hour.
You guys don't bring up football on the show right now. Okay, I'm telling you. Okay, but it's more exciting than what we saw tonight. Okay, let's get back on track here. So I don't even know where we were. Let's get to some comments.
Congrats to Jaime Munguia. He avenged his demons. Bruno Surace, Surace. I learned today he has 2 master's degrees and he's in his mid-20s. What the hell is he doing boxing?
Wow, he's tough too. Ryan Shepard says he'll probably fight Eubank Jr. provided he doesn't lose to Bud. Now that's a very interesting fight that I wouldn't mind seeing.
Chris Eubank Jr. versus Canelo?
Yeah, I think that's a good fight. You know you'd watch that. That's better than what we saw tonight. Like, if you can't get him and David Benavidez, would you want to see Chris Eubank Jr. and Canelo? Granted that we get Ben and Eubank Jr.
I really like Chris Eubank Jr. But I don't want to see him fight Canelo yet. Like, I want to see...
Eubank and Ben first?
Because Ryan says provided that he doesn't lose to Bud, but like, what if he does?
Well, then we get the rematch.
He might just retire. I don't know. I'm not entertaining that. All right.
Yeah.
Super chat. Al the Pow. What I always say, and thank you for the donation. Donations automatically get put up, and Al the Pow always hooks it up. The rest of y'all, like, come on, yo, y'all slacking a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Just playing around. Canelo, as y'all like to call him in the chat, don't knock out nothing but Europeans the easiest. Canelo got scared when Bud jumped. when Bud jumped in the ring. They say your tune changed. I don't recall if he got scared. I wouldn't say he got scared when Bud jumped into the ring, but you do know someone dropped this comment earlier, like Terrence Crawford is low-key taller, has a longer reach, and it's like if he just fills out at 168, I don't know. I don't like this for Canelo Alvarez.
So Al, I don't think he changed his tune. I just think the whole thing was really awkward because Turk made it awkward. Because he was like, hold on, got a belt for you here. Wait. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is what he was doing. And we were like waiting for like 5 minutes. And he's like, wait. Got a new belt here. Today, Canelo. Right? He's like, and we're just like waiting. And first he was like, get out of the ring. Get out of the ring. Like he told everyone to get out of the ring.
I can't do that. You can do this because you know
I'm a little bit more tanned, you know what I mean?
Yeah. This is a joke.
No, I'm just doing an impression of him also. But what I will say, I don't know, it doesn't even sound like Turk. I was just trying to impersonate him. But what I will say is that like the whole thing was so weird. Right? Like Turk is so awkward and so weird. So I don't think Canelo's tune changed. I think Canelo was just like, this is weird. You saw Bud in there just like, Bud didn't even look impressed. He was kind of like, let's just get this over with. And then out of nowhere, oh, okay, Al the Pal. The announcer even said, Al the Pal left a comment saying the announcer even said your tune changed. And I told my homies that before he said that. You know what? I think... Mm-hmm. Look, Bud was there too, and Bud saw the fight. It was not entertaining. Canelo barely did anything, and then they announced the fight and had their first face-off. Like, why was that even done at that moment? And Jalen Davis says, Turkey's the GOAT and saving boxing.
With
in
quotes.
Quotations. In quotations.
Yes. My favorite when people say this. Like Tim Bradley, we played it earlier. We've been saying it, and we're trying to be fair. We think we're being fair, when it comes to this. But like, you guys see what this is. Like he's kind of a boxing pimp.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I show all my friends, like, look at what I could do. And honestly, I think some of his homeboys got to be looking at him like, yo, what the fuck are we spending all this money for? Like, if this shit keeps happening, you know what I mean? And then
Yo,
Marlon makes the point, like, yeah, without Turkey, we get none of these fights. These fights are garbage.
Okay, let's get to
I don't give a shit. I think we would have gotten some of these fights without him. Honestly.
Let's get to this comment. I think it's, I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't want to butcher it.
Aryan Yuda.
Okay,
right?
Aryan. Okay, if Turkey is putting people to sleep, not a good weekend. Not a good weekend at all.
He's paying the fighters too much to where the fighters don't want to take risks even more. We thought the money was a problem before. Now these guys are getting paid even more. It seems like, not everybody has the same mentality as like a Dimitri Bivol or David Bennett, not David Benavidez, Artur Beterbiev. David Benavidez too, but he doesn't apply to this specific conversation, I don't think. It just is what it is. Like,
and Ariane says, I don't think David Benavidez can make 168 pounds anymore.
No.
So he's not going to come back down.
I don't blame Turk fully for these fights sucking, because ultimately, it's like blaming the coach. Like, you could blame the coach, but so much, but ultimately players got to play, fighters got to fight. But I think there's something to be said for what Tim Bradley is saying in terms of guys are being more risk averse with the money. Like, they just want to. They obviously it's fucking boxing. You want to make as much money as possible, but because of that, this is kind of what you get. I don't think this is the case for everybody necessarily, but you're seeing it a lot. Like, I don't think I wouldn't say this is the case for like Martin Bakole and even Efe Ajagba. Efe Ajagba was doing what William Scull thought he was doing in that fight, essentially. Like, there were some decent fights on this card. Like, the Jaime Munguia fight was fine. The Efe Ajagba fight with Martin Bakole, scored wrongly. Ajagba won that fight, but that one was fine. And we got a comment about Badou Jack, 41-year-old WBC cruiserweight champion. Badou Jack still got it. She's still nice as fuck. Yeah. And also main evented one of the first cards I ever saw in person, when he fought, was it DeGale? And Floyd Mayweather went on a fucking tirade after they ruled that a draw.
Jalen Davis, overpaying fighters for boring cards. He's not doing this out of the kindness of his heart. He has underlying intentions.
That's the thing.
Another one, Ryan Shepard says they better not try to put up barriers to stop people from watching the ring card at Central Park in July.
That better not be at Central Park.
Is it at Central Park? Is that the rumor, Ryan? I didn't hear that. I thought that was going to be at like MSG or something like that.
No, because remember I told you this when they announced it. We talked about this on a live show. They announced that the fight with Shakur and William Zepeda was going to be New York City. And my theory was they're going to try Central Park. Now you got me saying Central Park. They're going to try Times Square to see how it goes, and then from there, maybe pick a different venue or try to do something. If it's Central Park, then okay. But like, I'm here to tell you, that's another shit show waiting to happen if that's the case. Also, don't do it at night, because there'd be mad rats at Central Park. So I don't want a rat crawling up and biting like Shakur Stevenson in the nuts.
Here's one thing that I will say about the fights that weren't very entertaining. The Canelo one, Cinco de Mayo weekend, you're doing it in Saudi. It's 7 a.m. there. Not very entertaining. A lot of empty seats. The atmosphere just wasn't there. Commentary was like, look at the app. No, we could see it. It was a dud. As for Times Square, and we kind of did this on the post-fight show, there was a clip that Brian sent me earlier today, and it's of Ryan Garcia talking about when he was in the ring, how it felt weird because he could hear guys like Richardson Hitchens and Shakur Stevenson all talk, and he felt like usually in a fight, you're not hearing any of that, right? So I don't know how much of an effect that atmosphere had on these fighters this weekend in terms of the energy they were bringing to the fights, because I think it may have had a little bit to do with it. It was a little bit different. This is the first time they've ever fought in Times Square. It was supposed to be available to the public. It was supposed to be this crazy big free event, and it just wasn't that. It was for VIPs. And then as for Canelo, it's Cinco de Mayo weekend and you're in Saudi. That was worse than Latino night that they had in Saudi. It was worse.
Here's the other thing. let's hear from boxing's MVP this weekend because he actually had something to say about this. This is Roly Romero. This is posted on Twitter from, I think, Dan the Boxing Man, who just posts like a lot of boxing shit. And Ryan will get to the super chat after. But here's what Roly Romero had to say about the conditions, so to speak.
They didn't have a fucking hotel room for me. They fucked up my gloves. They didn't give me no damn per diem, nothing. I ain't care. I kept it cool. They didn't want to fucking put no damn money in escrow, nothing. And look at this shit. They all had a fucking plan. And look at this shit. I destroyed everything they fucking had. They didn't have a...
This looks like it was an IG live from Roly.
Wait, we got to get to Ryan Shepard's comment. If you donate to the show, we get to your comment right away. Ryan Shepard says, I work as a freelance reporter, so I got to interview Berlanga for some charity work he's doing, and he said the plan was to have it at Central Park.
Awesome. Jesus Christ. What are we doing?
And that's why the venue wasn't announced. So this might be madness again.
If Times Square worked, they probably would have done Times Square, but I'm sure they were looking at other parts. So Central Park in July with that humidity, that also is going to be like that's I don't know how smart that is.
I would think it'd be different if they did like in Yankee Stadium or like, where the Mets play or something like that. Like that would be kind of dope. But this is, in the middle of, a park, a big park, a famous
huge park that a lot of tourists go to. That people, I don't know if people avoid Central Park to the degree they avoid Times Square if you're like actually from New York, but people don't really like they're running to do other things like in any regard. But Ryan, thank you for the comment. I think and also shout out to you for getting to interview Edgar Berlanga. He's actually an interesting interview when he's being like, just regular. But also when he's being a character, like that's interesting.
Yo, let's get to this comment. Marlon 2631 says, so how long y'all think Turkey going to be around boxing? Oh. This is a great question. Ooh. Because is all of this sustainable? And that's my biggest question.
I don't know because with whatever he's gonna do with Dana White looming, it'll probably be longer than some people would have guessed initially. Like in the beginning, it always feels like, oh, what is this? Is this another like fad where it's like Triller or BLK Prime? And it's like, sure, we're doing this in Saudi Arabia. All right, we'll see how long this lasts. But they're putting real money behind it. And they're trying to, increase tourism in Saudi Arabia. Like they want to really make an effort to, appease the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And they're using sports to do that. Some people will call it sports washing. And basically, they're doing this with golf. There's rumors about a basketball league. They're trying to do this with a whole bunch of other things. So like they're trying to be here at least for a while to see this through. I don't know what that entails. Like I don't have any information on that. My guess would be like at least a few more years. But things happen so fast now, it feels like. But I don't think he's going to wake up one day and be like, because I feel like they've put a lot into this. Like they've built a foundation. And what they've been doing has clearly gotten a lot of attention. It's subjective to say whether or not it's working. For some people, it is, because for some people, they'll say like, oh, we're getting the fights we want, so it's working. And then other people will be like, well, all these other things sort of matter too. The atmosphere, the amount of money these guys are getting, how these fights are being done, where these fights are being done. Like it kind of depends. It's kind of in the eye of the beholder, because in boxing, you don't really have like this is kind of like the music industry where you're arguing about artists. You know what I mean? Until they fight each other, like you could just argue about it all the time and nobody's right or wrong really. So I think when it comes to how long he'll stay here, I think they're just going to see this through for at least a little while longer and see. And they're on the verge of announcing a new company. So it's going to be a little bit. And Dana White, by the way, who's going to be heavily involved with that, he hasn't been needed in the UFC, it feels like, for a while. Like he kind of, not that he seems like he's over it, but it seems like he's somebody who wants a new challenge. And that's why this is interesting. So I think it's going to be a while, and we'll see how the promoters react to it, because ultimately he's working and has been working with all of them. We saw Eddie Hearn was there after being in New York. Frank Warren was there, etc. Like Oscar De La Hoya has been doing a lot of shit with Turk. Bob Arum as well. and we'll see like what this looks like in the future. Like boxing is heading into like a weird space where it's like we don't really know what it's going to look like. We have an idea, but we don't really know definitively. I have my assumptions, you have your assumptions. We don't know what this is going to look like even a year or two from now.
One final comment before we get up and out of here.
Chantel's so over it. She's like, bro, I just want to see Inoue. Fuck this.
Al the Pal, Canelo needs to retire. And I only bring this up because I think there should be a conversation that's had. Do you believe after Canelo, even though he has a 4-fight deal, well, 3 more fights with Turk or whatever, do you think after he fights Bud, if we do get a second fight, if we do get a trilogy fight, do you think Canelo then sails off into the sunset and leaves? Because at this point, what we're seeing from Canelo, it's not his prime. And at the end of the day, I don't think he has anything else left to prove. Unless we want to see him fight a David Benavidez, which I don't think will happen. And then we know that Canelo wanted to avenge that loss against Bivol, but I see that fight going the exact same way. In fact, worse now at this point in his career.
We have a super chat. Thank you, XL. He is accusing us of hating on Devin Haney. I mean,
why did you not expect that from me? He's like, Shantelle, I didn't expect that from you. Is it because he's from Oakland? And usually I would have to like ride hard from anyone.
Can a man be human? And Duran is a major weight, but I mean, so is Devin Haney, according to other boxers like Regis Prograis, who said like, yo, there were rumors about Devin Haney weighing like 165, 170 or so last night. Or that was his intention. So I wouldn't say that. And it's not hating on Devin Haney. It's just calling it what it is, which is what we're supposed to do. Like his fight last night was terrible. And he was less terrible than Jose Ramirez, was he better than William Scull? Sure.
Well, yeah, he was better than William Scull. I mean, let's not get carried away here. He was still able to land punches. Not a lot of punches were thrown in this fight, right? Not a lot of punches were landed. But to be fair, when it comes to Devin Haney, what I saw was a man that didn't want to get hit. What I saw was a man that is probably still dealing with some issues because of what happened in that Ryan Garcia fight. Mentally, that's one of the biggest things in boxing. Mentally, you have to be strong. And I felt like Devin Haney did not want to get hit. And it wasn't an entertaining bout. Now, I actually like Devin Haney. I know a lot of people think that he's corny. I like his fight style. I've always said that he's been more entertaining than Shakur because he does take chances, but he didn't take any chances in that fight, XL. And it's like, I got to keep it real. It wasn't an entertaining fight for me. In the 4th round, I was like, yo, I'm going to go take a shower. And I left to go take a shower in that fight. And I came back and I was like, I know Devin's going to get the unanimous decision because Jose Ramirez didn't look good in that fight.
Yeah.
And so
that's another fight where you got to blame both parties. It's not all on Devin Haney.
No, not at all.
But also it's like, again, his stock takes a little bit of a hit after that. Now, hopefully, and this is what my fear was because we've talked about this multiple times on this show. My fear with Devin Haney is that the Ryan Garcia fight, I don't want to say might have ruined him, but like it's going to make him way more gun shy than he already was. And he already had a very conservative boxing style, but that was not even the guy that we saw against George Kambosos. Can you blame him? Probably not. And I do think like in looking at Ryan Garcia against Roly Romero, did the steroids matter? Yes, they always matter. But in that case, absolutely. So with Devin Haney, it's like,
this is a good comment. Ryan Shepard. Yeah, Ryan Shepard. Devin fought how I thought Bruno Surace should fight. Like a man with 2 degrees could do something else with his life. Yeah, it just wasn't entertaining. And it was Devin Haney's first fight back. And you would think that he would want to make a statement performance, but he did win the fight. He won by unanimous decision. And I think the question left after the fight was, is Jose Ramirez going to retire after that fight? It wasn't what's next for Devin Haney, although Devin Haney could go and fight a Roly Romero. But how scared do you think Devin Haney would be to fight Roly Romero? Roly knocked Ryan Garcia down. There's real power there. I don't know if that's a fight Devin wants to take. But I think the fight to make is Devin and Ryan. That's the only fight that people want to see Devin in. There were comments yesterday that were just like, I don't even want to see Devin Haney fight. Like there were comments like that all over X. And it's just because of what we saw. And it's not all on Devin. We all thought that we were going to get this very exciting weekend in boxing. And Friday was a letdown. Saturday was a letdown, and in a way has a chance to be, Santa in May. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he has a chance to be that dude that just makes it all better. Also, the card is dope when you got like Rohan Polanka, Emiliano Vargas. You have who else is on the card? The card is crazy.
Rafael
good.
Espinosa.
Rafael Espinosa is also on the card. Like, the card is so good, right? So it's like boxing has a chance, and I've always said Top Rank puts on good cards. Like, I always love a good Top Rank card. And it's interesting. I'm going to add this final point. The fact that Top Rank's deal with ESPN is going to be over. I am curious to know what's going to happen because boxing is trending in such a different way. What do you mean, Jesus? I'm not, what am I apologizing for? I'm not going to apologize for my comments on Devin Haney, but I wish we would have saw it like Devin Haney against George Kambosos. I thought he boxed beautifully. Like, he had a great performance, and one of them was a shutout for me. But like, I love boxing like that. I don't need the knockout.
We both thought he beat Vasily Lomachenko barely.
Yeah, I thought he got it done.
But we both had it 115, 113.
Did you see how he made Regis Prograis look?
Yeah.
Like, these are all things.
And part of that is also the standard. Like, Devin Haney, I still think we looked at the welterweight rankings yesterday. I'm like, Boots Ennis is the best guy here. Devin Haney is next, unless Brian Norman Jr. can prove himself a little bit more. Brian Norman Jr. is clearly like he's upcoming. He's a champion already. But if he fights Devin Haney tomorrow, Devin Haney's the favorite in that fight.
Devin Haney has the resume.
I think a lot of people will bet on Brian Norman Jr. though, because like the power and things of that nature. But Devin Haney could, like, the Devin Haney we've seen, he could outbox that dude. So
100%. And also, I don't think we have enough of Brian Norman Jr. where we can, really pick apart how he fights and the different fighters that he's fought. For Devin Haney, like, there's an entire blueprint. We have his entire resume. We've seen a lot of him. So we're able to pick out those little things that maybe Devin does wrong or he doesn't do enough of. Whereas Brian Norman Jr., we're still figuring him out. We're still finding out who he is, right? So I actually think that's a good fight, Devin Haney and Brian Norman Jr. I just think the money fight is him and Ryan. That's Brian the fight Norman we want to see.
Jr.'s got a fight coming up on June 19th against Jin Sasaki anyway. Title defense. So we'll see. Any other comments before we get up out of here? We say things pre-show, and then it's just
I was like 20 minutes, Brian, and then we're out. And
I was like, no, we can't do that. But anything else before we get up out of here? We have Al DePaul talking about Ain't Top Rank going to Amazon Prime like PBC. That is to be determined because there were rumors about Turner potentially getting involved with Top Rank. We'll see what that looks like. Turner right now has obviously AEW and is losing the NBA. Will they have interest in boxing? I'm not sure, but watching Keyshawn Davis and Xander Zayas and Richard Torres Jr. on TNT would be pretty cool.
Is that a rumor?
It was a rumor earlier when they were talking about like who would be interested, and Turner was one of the entities brought up, which I would like that. That's high level production. It's legitimacy. And I don't want boxing to be all on streaming. I don't think that's good for the sport.
Yeah. Let's get to, here's XL who donated to the show again. By the way, XL is an OG of the show. Yeah. Like, has been rocking with us since the very beginning before we even had like 100 followers or subscribers. Sorry. Can you guys cut a human a break? So what? He was apprehensive and didn't want to take a punch. He just fought a drug cheat. Shantelle, speak on that.
Yeah, he's coming at you. XL, like, am I not worthy of being like...
Hey, give some of this heat to Brian, okay? He went on a rant the other day. I had to stop him.
Or he probably expects more out of you than me. That's probably what this is.
It's not even that. It's not that I am not giving Devin a break. It's just that when you're in the spotlight like Devin is, and you have Bill talking all this smack about, my son's the best. Like, Bill makes it worse for Devin Haney. I hate to say it, right? Like, Bill makes it way worse.
A lot of people.
I actually think I've said this before. Devin seems like a sweet guy. I don't really believe like his brash attitude and all of this. And I did feel bad for him after that Ryan Garcia fight, knowing that Ryan ended up testing positive for PEDs. But the bottom line is you're in boxing, you're a big name, whether people love you or hate you, and you're coming back from your fight and you're talking all this smack. Well, if you're talking all this smack, you better show it in the ring. You better be entertaining. It was a night of entertainment. I was not entertained. And I also think it just wasn't a good performance. I will say that it was after a year layoff. The last time we saw him in the ring, it was probably embarrassing. He probably had to deal with a lot of mental stuff, and he's strong for that part of it. But the performance wasn't good. And just from what I saw, and I don't know, but he just looked like he didn't want to get hit. And until Devin gets over that, there's a chance he could lose multiple fights. Like, if you don't want to get hit and you're in boxing, like, you're going to get hit, right? So it's like, now he's going to fight what Shakur's been fighting for a really long time in terms of his fights are boring. And that's unfortunate because we've seen Devin Haney in some really good fights. So it's not that I'm like just shitting on Devin Haney. I'm shitting on the whole weekend. You know what I mean? I'm like, I wasn't happy with what I saw. And if I came down in New York City to that Times Square event and wasn't able to see the fight, the fans didn't get what they wanted. And listen, this was pay-per-view, right? Like, people spent their hard-earned dollars. Like, you can't even buy eggs these days. Some people paid for these fights.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly.
So it's kind of like, you know, I expect more from Devin. I definitely expect more from Devin.
Jim Lampley did say this. Steven dropped his comment. In order to dream, because Devin Haney's nickname is The Dream, his moniker. In order to dream, you have to be asleep. Devin Haney put some people to sleep tonight. Like, even the commentary was like destroyed. Like, everyone was. So we'll see. I still think Devin Haney, like, if he can get over this hurdle, can still be. We said it. He's probably going to be a champion again at some point. He's too good not to be, but you know, we'll see. He needs to win that rematch against Ryan Garcia, if that's even next. We don't even know at this point. All right, who's going to send us home? One last one before we get up out of here. Maybe we'll be saved tomorrow. By the way, I went to parlay all the not all the top rank A sides, but I went to include Inoue by knockout or technical knockout in there, and they don't even list that shit. It's not even listed. They're not even allowing you to play Inoue knockout or technical knockout. They're making you pick
Really?
group round betting or like some sort of prop where like multiple knockdowns or whatever the case may be. Like, they're not letting you do it.
Really?
So, yeah, they're
I'm
not.
checking right now.
They're not. At least not this particular book. I don't know about any of the other ones. I'll say this about the top rank thing, though. All the guys who we're talking about are big favorites tomorrow, like massive favorites. So if you're not excited about that, I totally understand. But
no, you need to go. So on one prominent sports book, Inoue is a minus 900 by TKO, KO, or DQ. And if you obviously go by like rounds, what are you thinking? Like 5 through 8?
I don't know.
7 through 12?
So
if you bet Inoue to get the stoppage between rounds 7 through 12, it's a plus 140, but rounds 1 through 6, minus 110.
Inoue to win and over 1.5 knockdowns is minus 155 at one book. And he's knocked down 4 of his last 7 opponents twice. Not everybody, because some dudes just drop, or in the case of TJ Doheny, he just got hurt. But that's something that was interesting to me. It's a tough one to bet on, so I wouldn't put like too much money on this weekend.
Just bet on a nice parlay and just bet, you know.
Who you got for Warriors Rockets?
What's the spread? Are we just talking about who's? I think
just straight up. It's 2.5 Rockets, but
I think that the Warriors get it done. I think the Warriors get it done, but it's going to be close. Like, this is going to be like a 3-point game. It's going to be very, very close. I think Houston has a good chance, but I think experience will come into play. Like Steph, Jimmy Butler, and of course, like the Rockets have experience with a guy like Fred VanVleet, who's won an NBA championship. But you got Steph, you got Jimmy, who's played in the finals before. You still got a Draymond Green, and I think the Warriors get it done, dude. Like,
I don't know.
You think it's going to be the Rockets?
There's some smart people that are backing the Rockets.
Yeah.
The problem that I have is the Warriors are going to have to change something, because Buddy Hield can't make a fucking shot.
Yeah.
He is 30 something years old, and this is the second time he's in the playoffs. You can't play him in the playoffs. They need a major adjustment, and Houston is very, very young. So I'm like, man, are they just gonna show their inexperience here? But
Well,
the last two
that's the only
games,
reason why I'm rocking with the Warriors. But even in that game 5, like, remember the Warriors all of a sudden made it really close with their bench players
you see the threes that Steph Curry is being forced to take because of the way that they're like
defending him.
Amen Thompson is a mutant, and like Fred VanVleet, the first 3 games he wasn't hitting any shots, and now he is completely in rhythm. The way that they're guarding him is also like it's not what they should be doing at all.
Yeah.
Steven Adams is just destroying them on the glass. He's not alone. Alperen Sengun also, because Golden State doesn't have a real center. They're playing Quentin Post at the 5 when he's really a pick and pop 4 who's just big. He's a modern day 5, I suppose, but it's just ridiculous. All right, we're talking about basketball now. We should get
Yeah. All right, guys. By the way, thanks so much for rocking with us this weekend. If you like the content, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, because it helps the channel grow. We're going to be back with you guys on Monday. We'll do a live show. We'll recap in a way. If I surprisingly make it in time for the main event, because there is a chance, Brian, that this could possibly happen, we might go live
tomorrow.
Yeah, because I think there's a chance that I can make it in time for
that would be
the main
preferred.
event.
That would be preferred.
But if it doesn't, guys, we'll do it on Monday.
Especially because Monday, you know, I have the Knicks Celtics watch party for game 1.
Yeah,
watch along, not watch party, but
yeah. So, guys, just remember, hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back with you. And for everyone that joined us this weekend, clicked on any of our videos, listened to any of our shows online, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
You're pretty much the reason why the lives are good, because we read your comments and you hang out with us, and you're the best part of the show. So thanks so much for hanging out with us this weekend. We appreciate you. Brian, I'll give you the last words, and don't let it be like Cambosa's and Hitchens.
Geno Smith for MVP.